name is John Bowders, and I came to CGLA in February of 2011 and joined them as the director of the housing program.
I was very comfortable when I met John because he was very outgoing, outspoken, and he made sure I understood what was going on.
I met Nicole in September 2011. She did an intake for legal assistance for housing.
I stay in the public housing, and they have a one-strike rule you out. Anybody on the lease. Well, one evening, my kids asked can they spend the night at a close friend of mine's house. And about 8:30 that evening, I got a phone call from my friend. And she said, the police have our kids. And I said, have our kids? I thought they was in the house with you. You was keeping them. And she said, I let them go out and the police have them. And she gave me the address to where I needed to go to see what was going on with the kids. When I made it to the police station, they stated that they didn't have the boys. So I just lingered around for a little while to see, did they have them? So I went back into the station and they said, yes, they do have them. And he explained to me that it was like 9 kids in a cab. The cab was pulled over and there was a gun found in the cab. The cab driver was responsible for the weapon and he was charged. So about 3:30 a.m. that morning, they was released to me with no charges. So about a month later, I received a letter under my door stating that I needed to vacate the premises within 10 days.
When you live at the mercy of other people or a government program or some sort of benefit, and you're being told that it's going to go away, you're going to lose that benefit, that's a life-altering event. And many people just kind of are deer in headlights when that happens, but Nicole was not one of those people, actually.
So I immediately went over to the property management to see what the letter was about. And they stated to me that my kids were arrested and charged with a firearm. And I told them no, they was not charged with a firearm. So they said I needed to do what I needed to do to bring them the information stating that they were not charged.
The police department gave Nicole, the day after she got her notice, a letter signed by the sergeant on Chicago Police Department letterhead stating that her children did nothing and giving the personal cell phone of the sergeant who released her kids to CHA to contact if they wanted to verify it.
And I waited about maybe a week and a half, and I followed up to see what was the situation now that you guys know that my sons wasn't charged. They stated to me that they're still going to proceed with the eviction. A Cook County sheriff knocked on my door maybe 3 weeks later and served me. I'm a single parent with 2 teenage boys. I was very afraid of being homeless. Mom, we gonna get put out? We gotta go? I said, yeah, if we don't win this case, yes, we're gonna get put out, yes.
I had never had a client who took as many affirmative steps as Ms. Jones took to actually mitigate and defend her own case and was stonewalled.
It was very hard for me. I had plenty sleepless nights just thinking about, what if I don't win this case? What if they win? Even though my kids wasn't charged with anything, I stopped letting the boys spend the night out thinking, something else might happen.
One of the things that I saw in Sergeant Winstrom that I don't always see is a recognition of how people's lives still go on after they've left their encounter with him. There's a lot of collateral fallout from an arrest or a charge. I went to court on the very first court date, and I brought a copy of that letter with me, and I handed it to CHA's attorney, and I asked him if he'd seen it, and he told me he had. And I asked him what was the merit behind the case that they were seeking, and he simply told me, we push all of these through.
Without a lawyer, I would have lost the case because they kept pressing the issue stating that they were charged when they wasn't charged. So a lawyer will fight more for you than you just trying to represent yourself.
I am sometimes made fun of at CGLA for my loquacious abilities, but I know when to use them in court, and every time that man for CHA said, her kids were charged with, I kept saying arrested, arrested. I would not let him get on the record with charged and leave it unobjected to.
He was like, because they was charged with them. No, he wasn't. No, they wasn't. No, they wasn't. I have this right here stating, I'm like, oh, okay. I felt like we was winning. I felt like we was winning. Didn't know at the time if we had won yet, but just standing there beside you, I felt like we was winning.
Without Sergeant Winstrom, it would have literally been Ms. Jones and her kids say versus CHA's third-party vendor report says. And we would have had maybe a closer case. But when the very witness that they needed said no, in fact, nobody at CPD is going to testify that this happened because it never did, that was what broke down their case. And the judge granted summary judgment, finding that they had absolutely no merit to their case to move forward.
I cried all that day, but I was very relieved. A lot of celebrating, not in the unit, of course, because I'd had another eviction notice.
Housing is just one of the few places that we help people in a legal sense, but the goal at CGLA is to help people holistically, to make sure that the person who comes in doesn't just get a legal remedy. The goal is to make sure that they obtain that stability or they move forward in the way that they're looking to move forward. I like knowing that my clients leave not with just a legal answer, but making that step forward, and they can do that at CGLA.